Hello music listeners and underground enthusiasts and those who put all of their money on the fact that the weekly songs list would never return. Looks like the second mortgage is on the way. Sure, it's definitely been a minute since I've last done one of these videos, I think actually about 2 months, but I promised it was for a good reason. I made a video essay and I did an interview with TV Room and then I made an April Fool's video that only I thought was funny. So I hope that in the absence of your favorite underground music recommendations serialized on a weekly basis, you found some comfort and joy and appreciation in those videos, which you should still go watch if you haven't. And given the situation, I will include a couple songs in this list that came out a little earlier than last week because, there's a couple of songs that came out while I was working on the video that I think are still worth talking about. They're still pretty good. Anyways, enough rambling. Let's talk. Starting off the list, we have corefish, who although may not necessarily engage in the same sort of hyper energetic, high speed intensity environment that his contemporaries often find themselves in, I feel like he has slowed down things a bit to a slower pace, which is funny given the name of the track. And the track is driven by this contrast between this intoxicating groove and these very tinny, plucky melodies, which are pretty par for the course if you're familiar with Yoku's production at all, who helped produce this track. The warbly start and the area instrumentation is a pretty sweet sound, while corefish croons some meditations on growth and the sort of reception to such a thing. Not that this was ever a state of being that I demanded from corefish, but it feels a lot more grounded and sober in comparison to maybe a song like Freak. Pretty good performance paired with an instrumental that's very rich in texture. I love it. We're staying in line with rich textures with the thayerperiod song 10,000 Dogs. But in this case, we get a bit of a stumbling blend of buzzing modulation and soft synth bounces. The jagged flow of Thayer's intro verse is pretty straightforward, but it sits nicely with the sort of equally sharp melodies, and until the crisp drums come in later in the song, the name of the game here is softness. Apart from the buzz of this lead synth, everything here is relaxed and very dreamy and trancey. It's a very pleasant cloud rap sound. And honestly, it's a cute song too. The entire song stays pretty on topic with this concept of, daydreaming and owning 10,000 dogs. I dream about owning 10,000 dogs. Who wouldn't want to do that? Going to the park, taking a walk, how soft they are, petting them. Thayer really covers all of the bases here. It's fun, and although you can maybe connect the doggy daydreams to larger implications and a grander idea, it's really not all that necessary. Because on the surface, it's a great message. Dogs are great. Moving on, we have Snowblower with Holds You Back, and I think this song is about part 20 or so of me doing my best to describe why I like electronic and ambient music so much that I think it properly expresses how much I love it, how I feel about it, because I don't really have a huge technical knowledge on the genre, right? I often find myself directing my thoughts in it towards a more like a emotional appeal, which I guess once again I'm going to have to rely on, because this is a calming and very pretty track where Snowblower relies on a somewhat simple repetition to seal the deal. The song doesn't really boast too many moving parts, but it does excel in what it does present, which is contrast in texture and ambience, combining a slightly piercing sound of melodies, these soft key pulses, and a grounding, minimal but effective bass line. It's blissful and tranquil, it's very easy to get lost in, and it's hard to pull yourself out of. And then we have Do Not Resurrect with Cosmic Humility Interlude, and although the title would maybe imply otherwise, this is a fully fleshed out track. And although Do Not Resurrect has established this sort of low, monotone flow that displays a colder and rather detached delivery to match the macabre lyricism that he's cultivated over the years, I appreciate the small but still noticeable shift in how he approaches this track. Rather than straightforward and calculated, Rez puts emphasis on some fun and almost playful inflections in his delivery here, and I think it's a welcome shift in a sound that I've gotten pretty used to over the years. The sharply cut horns in the track breathe a brassy life into the song, while Rez dominates the low range, a contrast that I also found myself enjoying on MK Plus Ultra. It's harsh and almost a little hushed in that regard, and the resulting product is infectiously fun and also short and sweet. We have a new fats'e and Shinigami collaboration with Secrets. fats'e and Shinigami attack dance head on here with a harsh and intense track that could honestly be a true emo club banger a decade or two ago. fats'e's hook is good here because the writing sort of borders on a more tongue-in-cheek intention, meeting at the party, sharing secrets, sharing drugs, but inversely it also feels so genuine, and that's kind of why I love it. It's catchy, and fats'e's kind of tired delivery is a good contrast to the oppressive kicks and beyond crushed melodies. Shinigami here is a bit more indulgent in the sound of the song, with a very harsh mechanical distortion drowning out his vocals. It's staticky and watery all at once, and given the context, I wouldn't really expect anything less from him. A little short-lived, just barely breaking the 2-minute mark, it's a fun fun, punchy track that I'm sure is going to hit even harder on the emo rave tour. Sendflowrs is back with a track in the form of There Was a Car Crash. Although I've only grown more indifferent to the emo rap sound of the late 2010s, Sendflowrs is an artist that I think is consistently putting out some pretty compelling pieces that align with that genre, and although that is something that I appreciate and enjoy, I'm also pretty stoked to hear a bit of a lo-fi rock approach here with this song. The soft vocalizations, the very roughly strummed guitar, and the heavily bit-crushed main vocals all scratch an itch in my brain that I feel has been there a while. It's a somber speculation on tragedy and a reflection on that as a consumer of such. Even under the texture, it's very clear how weary and destitute Sendflowrs sounds on this track, and the mood is pretty contagious, sucking you into this dreamy and disorienting fragment of time. Because that's really how the track presents itself, an important but brief reflection on a rather insular experience. It presents rather than explains, and then it ends. And although the end does give it away a bit, it kind of does give you something to run with and think about yourself. It's a very somber, poignant track. I like it. Closing out the week, we have Stella the Pixie with Fox at Your Window, and along with Thayer, Stella dives headfirst into a dreamy trap sound, quickly delivering these delicate but still calculated melodies over a cascading and plucky guitar melody. This moves forward into soft harmonies, being cut up by sharp hi-hats, and then these vocals are kind of flying back and forth all over the environment of the song in this gentle haze of melodies, and then once again has a bit of a subtle transformation into a softer indie rock sound that is driven by playful drums and these crawling key passages. Lyrically, it seems to be more reassuring than anything, with Stella mitigating any potential worry that the described scenarios may present, with affirmations and metaphors claiming despite these set emotions, things are okay. Sonically, it's a sweet song, and lyrically, it's a sweet song, borrowing equally from indie rock and cloud rap and finding a nice middle ground. And that's going to do it for this video. Sorry that the series was kind of gone for a little bit, but it's back and better than ever until I start another video essay in which I dive headfirst into, spend way too much time on, and let it envelop me, but hey, that's the future, baby. We're in the now. Catch me in the next video where I finally criticize something. Bye.